If somebody asked me what my favorite game of all time was, that wasn't Yakuza, I would probably say Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Shadow of War is probably one of my all-time favorite games, being released just under a decade ago now. Oh my god, that was a decade ago. Holy shit, that didn't click with me until just now. On Steam, I've clocked roughly 300 hours into Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, so you can really tell that I loved this game initially when it came out, and even to this day, still really do love it. The best way that I can describe Shadow of Mordor is that it's kind of like this love child of a whole bunch of different AAA games, and it takes the best parts of them, like Assassin's Creed stealth and a little bit of the combat from there, fleshing it out with some of the Batman, Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knights games, and just also gluing it together with just an insane amount of just edginess. Now, of course, as you might be able to tell from the name of the game, Middle-earth, it's going to be set in the Lord of the Rings universe. And this means that the developers needed to find a way to extract the amount of personality and detail that could be found within the storytelling of the Lord of the Rings universe. And they get it goddamn right. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor is absolutely filled to the brim with personality, whether it be in the gritty, dark and dystopian area that's known as Mordor, or the slightly greener and more lush area known as Nirn. No matter where you are, there's always these slight details in the environment and the orcs and enemies that fill it that give it just that little bit of life. But of course, with all life, there's death. And my friend, you play as Talion, you might as well be the fucking mailman of death because you fucking deliver it on a silver platter. A ranger of the Black Gate, cursed and banished from death, trained in the art of swinging a fucking sword. I don't know, it looks pretty cool though. Look, anyway, the point is that the combat is the visual focus of the game, alright? It is stimulating beyond belief to see some of the just absolutely most gruesome attacks possible. You know, I mean fucking spirit punching their soul, stunning them, taking their head and fucking popping it like a grape, or become a true lumberjack and just, you know, leave a little stump for it to grow back. But as awesome as the combat looks and feels, it's a bit easy. I might be biased because I do have 300 plus hours, so, you know, experience. Other people might have different situations. Just moving on. Every game's got to have something else going for it other than the combat, right? So we'll go ahead and take a look at the storyline. It's pretty short, pretty average. There's not really anything too blaringly wrong with it. There's a couple moments here and there that just aren't fantastic, but, you know, it's alright. I can't really put too many faults to it. Much like the characters, right? There's not a lot to all of them. They're very basic and surface level, although, you know, there is, of course, Gollum, Celebrimbor. Just a couple like names that have been chucked in there that feel more like a callback to the movies and just kind of like, oh wow, look at him, he's here, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's very surface level with its themes, although you do have to admit that the voice acting is absolutely pristine.
Bow to me. Celebrimbor is your curse. He chose you. Silence!
So as cool as the voice acting is, and as meh the storyline can be at times, there is a really big focus on the gameplay. And I've already told you all about the combat, but that's not where most of the gameplay lies, at least in my opinion. Most of the time, you are supposed to engage with a very specific system that I dare say might just be one of the most innovative features in all of gaming, in my personal opinion. In fact, this system is so good that it provides near infinite replayability of the game, and roughly 280 of my 300 hours was spent interacting with this one system alone. And it's a system that I truly do believe should be in more games than just Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. In fact, actually, I'm a little bit disappointed that it isn't, but, you know, it is what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, allow me to introduce you to the standout feature of Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, the Nemesis system.
Sauron has returned, and your kind are no longer welcome in Mordor.
To seriously dumb down a super complicated system that provides so much fun in the game, every single enemy that you run into has the opportunity to basically become a randomized boss enemy. And each of these boss enemies have their own unique storylines that are developed within the open world by, running around, interacting with them, killing them, completing some of their objectives, attacking their captains, their subordinates, making them run away from you, causing them to take revenge, to fear you or to hate you, and sometimes even make you regret killing them. And it's this exact system in the game that allows for any Uruk in the game to become your worst nightmare and an absolute pain in the ass to deal with. Every single enemy that you run into is a completely unique combination of character traits that you can be damn near certain that you'll never run into somebody who's exactly the same twice. That is, unless, they resurrect. Like this guy who was resurrected a whole half an hour into my playthrough, which really should not be that common.
Blood scum left me to die. Now I kill scum!
To pair up with this Nemesis system that gives you a whole unique approach to open world storytelling and world building, the captains that are generated by the Nemesis system also have a bunch of weaknesses and strengths that you can learn about and exploit in combat. This means that if you focused on a sole branch of the game, such as ranged combat or stealth combat, running into a captain who's completely resistant to that type of attack could be a massive struggle to get past. And weaknesses allow you to try and strategize a little bit more. How are you going to take out this specific captain in a specific way? Can you use the weakness to flies, or can you stealth attack him so that way you can avoid the fight completely? It allows you to take a very unique approach to every enemy and to build up your game plan and play the way that you want to play. It's just so cool in concept, but 300 hours in kind of makes all of the fights really easy. I haven't even told you about the most fun part of this system, at least for me. There's a couple of people that really don't like this feature, but I'm on the other side of the fence, particularly because 13, 12-year-old me just thought that it was fucking cool. There's really no other way around saying it than that, but it's the ability to brand your enemies. Now, branding in this game is essentially like mind control. You find an orc that you like the look of, he quote-unquote takes a tumble down the stairs, and then you go ahead and nurse him back to health with your healing hand, because that's what that is, nursing. Ignore the sounds of burning and the smell of searing flesh. It's completely safe, and look, he even loves it. Once you completely made friends with an orc of your choosing, you can go ahead and command them to essentially interact with other Uruks on the map. And by interact, I mean abruptly develop a severe hatred of them and go kill them. You can do this to infiltrate a war chief's group as a bodyguard, so that way you can fight them easier later on. Kill a very specific captain that you really just didn't like the look of. Or perhaps the most busted part of the game, you can send a war chief that's on your side to go and riot against another war chief. Now, if you haven't played the game, then you probably don't know why this is so busted, so let me go ahead and give you a quick rundown. In the first half of the game, you don't have this brand ability unlocked, alright? You gotta kill every captain that you run into, and there's a big global objective on the Mordor side of the map, where you essentially just kill all of the war chiefs in order to progress to the next half of the storyline. And in order to get to these war chiefs, you have to complete a little bit of a mini quest, I guess you could say. They give you a little bit of an objective, you go down, you find them, and bada bing, bada boom, you're all done. Do that for all 5 of the war chiefs, or 4 if you don't count Ratbag, this motherfucker, the worst character in the goddamn game, by the way. And hey presto, you're done, moving on. But if you have a war chief branded and under your control, you get the ability to riot against them, which is essentially taking your war chief that you've got and all of your bodyguards that are assigned to him and just fighting him out in the middle of nowhere without having to do any form of extra little additional side objective or side quest or whatever the hell you want to call these things. And that really just kind of gives you the ability to skip through some of those longer processes and just have an easier fight overall. Like, I'm not even kidding, half of these riots resolve themselves without me needing to step in. But anyway, as I said before, the first half of the game, you got to kill everyone and you got to kill all of those war chiefs, right? So the second half of the game, when you're in Nirn, this lush green area, you just kind of got to give them a little bit of persuasion, right? Just a little bit of convincing. Because I mean, you're not the bad guy, are you? Surely not. I mean, really, would a bad guy do this? I would have thought that a bad guy would just kill them all. Like if I was really a bad guy, I'd do this, wouldn't I? Surely, right? Like, I mean, if I was really that evil, you'd be dead. And once you've convinced everybody on the map to be friends with you, you're ready to move on and take on the tower. The tower is essentially the final boss of the game, and in order to get to him, you've got to fight a very special person. That's right, your worst enemy, your nemesis, comes to fight you right at the end of the game for one last fight where you settle everything, you put the stone in the ground. I don't even know what that saying means or if it's a saying at all, but the point is, this is supposed to be your toughest fight and designed solely for you. But unfortunately, if you're someone like me who's spent an ungodly amount of time in this game for little to no reason, you probably don't remember dying to this person. In fact, you probably don't remember dying at all. And that's because if you don't die throughout the whole game, they just pick some random motherfucker from the map. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but I mean, hey, what can you do? So after giving your nemesis a little bit of a slap on the cheek, depending on, how hard you have to fight against him, who knows, maybe you die to this guy a couple times and he's actually really tough for you to play against, but I mean, hey, didn't happen to me. So you beat your nemesis and then you move on to fight the Tower, who is in fact the second last boss fight of the game, but really he's the last boss fight of the game, and I mean, you are not going to believe what the final boss actually is. Now, there's also a boss fight like the Tower at the end of the first half of the game, which is essentially just like finding a captain, just with a unique moveset. It's a half-decent boss fight. I've got to give it, credit where it's due. It's not the best, but it's a half-decent boss fight. But my fucking god, they did my boy the Tower dirty.
As you wish.
The entire boss fight is 7 minutes, a timed situation where you run around stealth draining. That is it. You only have to do it 3 times. And that is all that you need to do. The entire boss fight. It's a cool character. It's a cool idea. It's a cool arena. Everything about it is so just sick. And you think, oh my god, we're gonna get into a phase 2. And then you just fucking leave. You just leave. You leave. That's it. That's all it is. You stealth drain. I forgot this part of the game. It's been a while since I played it through, but I forgot that that's how that fight ends. And I was like mad. I was genuinely mad. I had great memories of the Tower. I thought the Tower was going to be fun. I thought it was going to be like the highlight of the whole stream that I did. By the way, I streamed all of this on twitch.tv/thatcowbloke. But my god, the disappointment was immeasurable. I was just So you beat the Tower, you go back to land, you go back into Mordor, some stuff happens, the people that you've worked with are running away, I don't know, you're kind of alone again. And you end up back in Mordor, ready to fight the final boss of the game. But I mean, first, there's just these 5 fucking random talons of the Black Gate. I don't know, I'm not even looking at the image right now, but these 5 orcs, I don't know why they're even in the game. Right, none of these guys have anything to do with the Nemesis system. They're pre-coded in, they're always the same, they're always going to be as easy as they are every single playthrough. You have no unique attachment to these guys, so I don't know why your Nemesis doesn't show up here along with these guys to make for a hard fight, but still, they look kind of cool. You beat them and you move on to the final bit of the game. The most exciting part, the grand finale. Everything that you have done has built up to this point in time. Every single collectible, every single side mission, every single orc that you have loved, fought, and just absolutely adored playing against. All for this one final enemy. And would you like to take a guess at how you fight this final enemy? How you fight the Hand of Sauron? His right-hand man. He's got to be a strong boss fight. He looks sick. He's in the armor. He takes fucking Celebrimbor from you. And you know how to beat him? A fucking QTE. A QTE. You press A 3 times, you move the stick a little bit, and that's it. You stab him a little bit, you take Celebrimbor back, you stare off to Mount Doom, and you drop a line that just leads into the sequel. I'm gonna be real with you. As much as I love this game, this was dog. This is so shit. I enjoyed playing it through. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed playing it through in like just 6 hours, so it's a pretty short game. But this was pretty dog. I still love it. I still think that I still think that 300 hours that I sunk into the game was worth it for the Nemesis system, for the open world, because that's the real part of the game here. The storyline kind of was just tacked on to make the game into an actual game that people could review rather than just a sandbox. But that sandbox open world experience is what everybody gets from Shadow of Mordor. It's what everybody experiences, and it's what everybody loved about the game. Who cares if the story was lackluster? Who cares if the final boss wasn't even the final boss? The game is the open world. The game is the enemies that you fight along the way, the orcs that you meet, the captains that you beat. Everything that you do in the game and the way that it influences the way that you play it is the game. And that's what I loved about it. That's where the 300 hours came from. It's a 6-hour storyline. You think I was just playing it for the story for 300 hours? Hell no, I was playing it because of fucking Ukbuk, the firebrander or whatever this guy is. You just hunt down people. Ukbuk. Like, who the fuck is Ukbuk? I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. The fucking names, the orc chants, the details on the map, the weapons, all of it. Everything was just cool. And that's all that this game tried to be, and it knew it right from the get-go. Although this motherfucking demon child ratbag, honestly, never wish that he was in the game. He's the biggest mistake that WB Games have ever made. Get that motherfucker out of my sight.